Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's special event, Ask the Captain. Now, before the captain comes out, just a few details on how our event will work. The captain's going to give a short presentation, and then afterwards, it's your chance to ask questions. We're going to have two people with microphones wandering around. You just need to raise your hand, and they'll come to you. They're going to hold on to the mic for public health reasons, but we want to make sure everybody hears your question. Sound good? All right, let's welcome to the stage Captain Arno Jotun.
Good morning, everyone. I hope everybody's doing well. I prepared a short presentation. I like to keep it short so there's enough room for questions if you have any questions afterwards. So we go right ahead. It's a very stretched ship. Okay, well, this is our bridge on deck 8 forward, from where we run all the navigation of the ship, obviously. It's quite a big space. It's all over the width of the ship and then sticks out a little bit so we can look over the sides. Normally there's at least 4 people there, 2 officers and 2 quartermasters that are either looking out or can steer the ship by hand if we need to steer the ship by hand. So here's the center console. You see we have a small steering wheel. It's about this big. Normally the ship is on autopilot, but when we get about 2 miles or so from the port, we engage hand steering and somebody's actually driving the ship by hand. When we get closer to the dock, me or the staff captain, one of the senior officers takes over and we maneuver the ship into the port. So fancy, this presentation. So this is the bridge ring, one on each side. So with that we can look along the side of the ship, which is obviously very important when we're docking. Our lifeboats are in the way for our view. We cannot actually see the dock from the bridge, so we have to guess the last couple of meters. And we have people, we have always an officer up front and in the back to give us the distances. And we also have cameras to look at the side of the ship. This used to impress everybody, but for the last 25 years or so, everybody has this in his car as well. It's our ACTIS system, electronic chart information display system. We used to have paper charts, and paper charts were very good, but have a couple of disadvantages and some advantages. One of the disadvantages is that you have to correct them manually. So if you are on a ship going around the world, which I've been on many times, you have about 500 charts on board, and one of the officers, his full-time job is to correct these charts. It's like a kindergarten with little pencils and little erasers and things, glue, tape. Of course, now it's one email and all the charts in the whole world are updated in just in a minute. Electronic charts, you can not only see everything around you, but it also has a database and it can warn you. So it knows that if you plan a track, it will tell you if that track is safe or not, or that you get too close to something you don't want to come close to. One of the radar screens, we have 4 main radar displays on the bridge, 5. And on the radar you can see other ships or land at a distance of about ships at a distance of about 30 nautical miles, and land depends on how high it is. Like if you go into Hawaii, these high mountains in Hawaii, you can see maybe at 100 miles range. And it's always nice, even with our modern navigation, if it starts showing up on your radar and you know that you found your island where you want to go to. Behind the bridge there's a room which we call our safety center. If there's any kind of emergency, this is separate from the bridge. We close the door and the safety team will start taking care of this emergency. So navigation can continue without being disturbed. On the older ships this was on the bridge, and in case of some kind of emergency like a fire, and if it's busy with navigation, it got a little bit hectic off the bridge. So this is much better. There's a door there that you can see on the left going to the bridge, and we can close this center off. Now when we dock the ship, this is the front of the ship. You see a little figure there at the bottom, a person, maybe it's hard to see, just for scale. So you can see the anchor. I already talked about the anchor a little bit a few days ago. The anchor weighs about 12 tons, and when we're anchored, the anchor keeps the anchor chain in position, and the weight of the chain actually keeps the ship in position. And then you see our 3 bow thrusters, which are 9,000 horsepower together, very powerful, and with that we can move sideways, the bow sideways. And we can handle the wind to about maximum of 28 knots, but that means we have everything running completely full, which we don't really like to do. Close up of the bow thrusters, just 3 propellers with a tunnel through the front of the ship. This is me in dry dock. This is another ship. This is the Oosterdam, I believe, but our Azipods are exactly the same. So this is at the back end of the ship. We have one on each side. These Azipods are our main propulsion. And instead of having thrusters in the back of the ship, we can rotate these Azipods 360 degrees. Next you'll see a small video. Not the best video, but see if it runs. Yeah. So this fast forwarded about 3 times, but these Azipods we can turn 360 degrees, and with different angles we can move the ship sideways and backwards and forwards. Like I said, we can, on Azipod ships we can run astern almost as fast as we can run ahead, but it will be quite uncomfortable because the pointy end of the ship is on the front. Stabilizers, which we have used intensively on the way here. If they're not used, they're inside the hull of the ship in this box that you see in front of the picture. And they come out like an airplane wing, one on each side, and they're completely automatic with the gyroscope. They measure the movement of the ship and they start just like an airplane wing. They give lift to port or starboard to stabilize the ship. This is the engine control room. So we have a very big engine room, runs all over the length of the ship down below. And over here in the control room on A deck we have our technical officers controlling the entire ship, all the technical things. So from air conditioning to freshwater production to steam production to heating to main propulsion, lights, everything. And here you have a few standing in on the left side. You see one of the main engines. We have 4 main engines. It's a diesel electric ship. So all these engines do is generate electricity. And then with this electricity, we can send this to the propulsion or we can send it to the rest of the hotel of the ship. So depending on the speed we're making, at the moment we don't have to go that fast. We have only 2 engines running, and at full speed we usually have 3 engines running. The 4th engine only gives about half a knot extra speed. Just like in your car, the more you accelerate, the less effect it has and the more fuel it uses. So we try to run on maximum 3 engines, but of course in case of a medical emergency or something, sometimes we have all 4 engines running. And that's it.
Fantastic. Okay, we're going to get settled in here, and we have 2 of our helpers out here with microphones. Who would like to ask the first question? Just raise your hand. All right, down here in the front.
Sure. Mine is about your wave energy. You're telling us about wave energy. I was curious what the variables are behind wave energy calculations and how that affects either the physical nature of the ship or navigation.
What energy? Wave energy.
Yeah, wave.
Wave energy. Yeah, that's a complicated question. Of course, that's more for the ship designers. So the ship can handle like the worst weather you can imagine. But our people cannot, so it's more that we look at the first of all the comfort and of course the safety of the guests. So on the way back we had about 5 meters swell that is uncomfortable. If it goes up to about 7, we start to get not worried for the ship's structure. The ship can handle much higher waves, but we start worrying for the people on board. So we try to avoid that weather. So anything over, I would say about 6 meters, we either divert or we slow down, but that means of course the itinerary of the cruise changes. Yeah.
All right, just here in the middle. You got one over there? Fantastic.
Captain, thank you for doing this. So between the
diesel engines and the propeller, I know that that's where the electric engines are. If you would lose all 4 diesel engines, is there battery in there that the ship could go a little, the propellers could go a little bit, or if you lose all 4 diesel engines, does the ship and propellers immediately stop?
No, the propulsion needs the main engines. We have a battery power for emergency lights, for navigation equipment, and then the emergency generator kicks in up on the top deck, but that doesn't give you enough power to run the propulsion. So, but it's a good question, but this ship is designed to run on only 1 engine room, so we have two separate engine rooms. They're complete different fire and water type compartments. And all their systems are separate: fuel, oil, lubricating oil, starting air. So even if one engine room completely is down, the other engine room will still be able to keep the ship running at half power.
Okay, so I heard that you tend to stay at 5 meter swell, but during this cruise, what was the highest swell that we experienced, and what was the highest wind speed?
The highest swell was about 5.5 meters, and the highest wind speed, at one point we had about 42 knots of wind or so.
Okay. Just here in the front.
Hi, does the ship ever strike whales? Does that happen?
I haven't struck a whale yet in my career, but it does happen sometimes, and usually you don't find out until you get into port and find a whale on top of the ship. So we won't really, usually I know from people that it happened to, they didn't know until they got into port and the pilot boat says, hey, you know, there's a whale on your purpose bow. As far as I understand, healthy whales will usually be able to get out of the way of the ship. So if a whale gets struck, it is usually a whale that's already not doing very well.
Just here.
Yeah. When do you sleep? And what was your training, and where did you train?
Well, I never sleep. I usually sleep at night, like most people. We do get up very early for arrival. I mean, if I say we have to pilot at 6 o'clock, I usually get up at 5 o'clock, and then we dock at 7 o'clock, for instance. So if I get up early, have a little rest in the afternoon as well, my sacred afternoon nap, when nobody bothers me. Training, yeah, I went to. I did something else first. I studied electronics for 4 years. Didn't really like it. Actually 5 years, because I failed 1 year. So I got my diploma to be an electronics engineer as well. But then I decided to do something else. So I live close to the sea, so I always watched ships and was always interested in it. So I decided to go to yeah, I guess you'd call it Nautical University, something like that. So I have a bachelor's degree in engineering and navigation. And then you start working as a 4th officer and you work your way up the rank. So 4th officer, 3rd officer, 2nd officer, 1st officer, staff captain, and eventually captain.
Great, here in the middle.
Yes, Captain, again, we want to thank you for this opportunity. There are questions I've always had. Two, foremost, how many years does it take to train to be a captain of a cruise ship, and are there any female captains of cruise ships?
Yeah, well, we need a captain's license, so that means that after you finish your university, you need about 6 years of time at sea before you can get your captain's license. So we have a lot of officers on the bridge that have their captain's license, about 4 of them at the moment. But then it takes time, of course, to build your own experience, and on cruise ships it always takes a bit longer because you're responsible for a lot of people. So most of us become captain around when we're 40 years old. I think I was 39 years old. And female captains, I mean, there are a lot of female captains in the world. We really want to have a female captain, and we had a couple of female staff captains, but until now they all quit before they became captain. So they start a family and they want to be home. So that's the only reason, because our company also really would like to have female captains. So we have female 3rd officers, 2nd officers, 1st officers, staff captains, but until now they all found other things.
Over here.
Yes, Captain. What is your maximum horsepower for the total of the 4 engines, and what is your fuel consumption cruising speed?
Yeah, so the total horsepower is 66,000 of the four main generators. Use of fuel, of course, depends on the speed a lot. So we work in tons, we don't work in gallons. So I do know we have 600,000 gallons of fuel on board. And I know that we use about 100 metric tons of fuel per day, or 0.3 tons per nautical mile.
Good morning. Thank you for doing this talk. I've always thought it would be really interesting to have a discussion about global navigation, not only electronically with GPS, but like dead reckoning, navigating by the stars, the effect of the curvature of the Earth, navigating over a curve, the Coriolis effect. There are so many different topics that could be covered. And I was wondering if you have ever considered giving one of this type of discussion.
Yeah, I mean, of course, there's a lot we can talk about. Yeah, we still practice astronomical navigation. Nowadays, it's more like a bit of an art and a hobby to do it because the electronic systems are so good now. But we still do it and we still practice it just in case. If we lose all power and we need to go to astronavigation, we have bigger problems than the actual navigation. Because everything on the ship is electric, of course. If we do any presentations, I think some of the grand voyages, they have a guest presenter on board that does some of that, but maybe Kristen knows better than me.
Actually, I invite you to come this afternoon at 1 p.m. There's going to be a guest lecturer talking about ships. So you may find some of your questions answered during that. He's going to do a series for the rest of our sea days. So please come back at 1 p.m.
Good morning. I'm not sure I can, I'm going to use the best language, but I guess with your GPS, you can locate other ships that are close to you. My thought is, what if there is a small boat that's lost, that had lost power, had something done? Are you able to locate that?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully they send out an emergency signal before they lose all power. And there's different ways to locate them. They have emergency EPIR, emergency position radio indicator beacon. They can switch it on and we can see that the satellites will pick it up and they'll send it to a Coast Guard station and they will send it to all the ships in the area. And we can pick them up on our own radar, and often they have also like a radar transponder. And then there's another system nowadays called automatic identification system, and you can see all the ships around us in about, I would say 40 miles range. So there's a lot of ways of finding other boats.
All the way in the back.
What is the life expectancy of like a Holland ship? About how many years will they have it in service before they're retired and replace it with something different?
Yeah, it depends a little bit on position of the company and demand. And our oldest ships at the moment are about 27 years old, I believe. But they are smaller ships, so they can go to places where we can't really go, so they're still popular with the guests. Usually we retire them around that time, before they are 30 years old. And then they get sold to other cruise lines and they go for another 20, 30 years. True story.
Just here.
So this is in reference to not being able to dock at Kauai. Which port do you consider to be the toughest to get a ship into?
To be honest, I'm happy you asked me this question because I was going to mention it. All the ports in Hawaii are pretty small for this size ship. For instance, in Hilo, we only have about 30 feet on each end before we hit either dock or run around on the other end, so it's not an easy arrival. Kauai, you have to make this very sharp S-turn, which I remember when we were on the S-class ships when I started sailing 30 years ago. They already said this port is too small for us, and now the ships are twice the size and we still go there. So, Kalui is a very tricky port because it's very, very small for us to turn around, especially on departure when the wind picks up. Honolulu is also not the biggest port for us to turn around. Yeah, we turned around on arrival this time, but it only gives maybe 100 feet clearance. So all these ports are pretty tricky. But now we're talking about cancelling Kalui because I wanted to talk about that anyway. Some people seem to think I wake up, I look out the window and I think, oh, not today. So first of all, there's a lot of thought behind that. Of course, when we come over the ocean, I'm looking at the weather forecast and got a little bit concerned about this port. So I started looking at alternatives. Think, okay, can we go to Hilo first? No, there's another ship alongside. Can we go to Honolulu one day earlier? No, there's another ship alongside. Well, all the ports, Kalui, there's a ship alongside, so there's no options for us. Nowadays, that happens quite often because there's so many cruise ships in the world. So before, you'd be the only cruise ship here and there'll be alternatives, but those times are over. So of course I'm talking to the pilots, I'm talking to the agent, talking to the office, like, hey, there is a chance that we're not going to make this port. But the weather forecast wasn't so bad that we would completely give up, because sometimes you do. If there's a hurricane above an island, you can't go there for sure. So it was sort of just above our limits. So we went to have a look, picked up the pilot, and the pilot said, no, you can't go in today. The wind is over 35 knots or something. We can only handle 25. So we had no chance to go in. If we would go in, I would give it a 75% chance that we would hit the breakwater. So it was not even doubtful if we could go in or not. And it's not good for anybody. I know everybody's disappointed, but we are also disappointed. I was also going to the beach, for instance, on that day. My wife booked an excursion. What else? Go to Nepali coast. Cost us about $20,000 extra in fuel just to do the scenic cruising. And we lose a lot of money on the excursions, a lot of revenue. So it's not good for you, but it's also not good for us. So we always try to do our best. And it was nice that we could do something in return, at least.
Thank you, Captain, for being here today. My question is, I know at one point before COVID, you used to do bridge and engine room tours, and I know that they aren't right now. Are there plans in the future to continue those?
I did them until 2 weeks ago, but then the office found out. It gave me a very hard time that I'm not allowed to do it anymore, so I stopped doing it.
All right, just another question just here.
Captain, thank you for this presentation. The question I've got relates to more personal things for you. Is there any situation or any personal experience that you've had cruising that stands out that gave you intense personal satisfaction?
Well, I've been sailing for 30 years, so there's a lot of moments. One moment that I really always remember is that we were docked in Hong Kong, and I don't know who's been to Hong Kong, but there's this amazing view of the city if you were at the old dock. A new dock is far away from the city, and I was a bit disappointed that we couldn't give this incredible view to the guests. So I asked permission on departure to sail around Hong Kong Island. First they said no, and then I made a lot of excuses, like this is the first call for the ship. So I got permission to go against the traffic around this island. And then there's also a really amazing laser show between all those skyscrapers at night with music. And I managed to get sort of stalled the departure time. Because you're not allowed to sail through there, but I had no choice. So So I managed to get through this laser show, and we had the music from this laser show. It's really beautiful music on the speaker, synchronized with the light show. And that was a moment for me. It was a very special moment. In the comments it said something like, we docked at the cheap terminal, Captain thought he could make up by showing us some lights. So that was a bit disappointing.
Have you ever sailed in an area where you felt threatened by pirates?
Just you.
Oh, there you are. You know, of course we are a passenger ship, and we wouldn't really go into an area where we think the risk is too high. Of course, if you have to go through the Suez Canal, sometimes you have no choice, so we stay out as far as we can. But what you do is you get a Dutch Navy ship to escort you. So I've never really felt threatened. They also have convoys, so they have like NATO convoys where you can take certain times. There's radio transmissions. If you want to go through this area, you can join the convoy between this and this and this time. You have a few Navy ships escorting you. But the best story about pirates is, I think, the pirates that accidentally attacked the French Navy frigate and thought it was a cargo ship.
Captain, I've been sailing with Holland for over 30 years now, and we see ships come and go, and we love our Mazda, we love our Beamdam, we love all of the ships. And I'm wondering, are there any ships right now that they're considering building or replacing in the fleet?
Are we building any new ships?
Well, I'm glad you called the Mazda. I was the captain there for 7 years, so it's a lot of memories there. At the moment, you know, we don't hear these decisions. It's kept a secret from us as it is from you. So, of course, we're hoping to start new builds soon, but we're still recovering from the pandemic. So, you need to make some money first.
Good morning. Between Hilo and Ensenada, are we in a straight shot, or do we zigzag at all?
No, we don't zigzag. No, we're going straight shot. Straight shot. Yeah, straight to the pilot station. Yeah.
I was wondering if you would ever have a camera underneath the boat to see the fish and corals.
Yeah, I don't know. I can ask the office if they would. I don't know if you would see so much with all the turbulence around the ship. Yeah, I'll think about it.
So do they require any tugboats anymore?
Yeah, I mean it's just still a propulsion system with limitations. So if the wind is higher than, depends also where you are. If the wind is higher than about 25 knots, we usually get 1 or 2 tugboats. We had tugboats in Kalui, for instance, because there's so little space there. That's why we also left earlier, because the wind was going to pick up, and actually it picked up a bit sooner than we thought, so the wind was over 30 knots on departure. So I didn't use the tugs. I managed to do it on our own power, but it's good to have them standing by in case the wind picks up even more.
All the way in the back.
Yes, thank you for taking our questions. How often do you rotate ships as a captain?
The ideal would be 2 to 3 years. But it doesn't always work out like that. I was on the Amsterdam for 10 years and I was on the Master for 7 years. So sometimes you can also say, no, I like it here, I don't want to go, and then keep going. So, but 2 to 3 years would be sort of the ideal.
When you're traveling around the Arctic Circle, is there a way to detect icebergs?
So, icebergs above the water, we can see on the radar very easily. We cannot look underwater ahead of us. We don't have sonar. We only can look straight down and see the depth. So, no, just the radar. We have a special radar for ice, which is more suitable to reflection on ice. I've been in Antarctica several times, and you just have to go by a radar picture, and especially by looking out the window.
Can you tell us a little about the accommodations that the staff, the crew, the officers, and what type of living conditions? Does everyone have a stateroom? Are there dorms? We never see behind the scenes like that.
Yeah, we have all sorts of different sizes of cabins. My cabin is about the size of this lounge. I mean, for instance, I have a living room and a separate bedroom, but it depends on what you do on the ship. So I would say average crew cabin is not very big. It has like bunk bed in it. They do have their own bathroom and shower, but it's, yeah, just, I don't know how to explain. Just a cabin with a bunk bed and a cupboard and a little wash basin and then a separate toilet and shower, and then everything in between.
Are you going through established shipping lanes or tracks?
In some places of the world, Gibraltar Strait, for instance, there's so much traffic that there is a traffic separation system and you have to keep to those traffic lanes. If we are at sea or on the ocean, there are no traffic lanes, so we just make our own route.
And Brent?
If there's something really interesting on one side of the boat, like starboard side, and everyone goes to look at it, we tip over.
Everybody goes to one side of the ship, will the ship tip over?
Oh, yes. After school, we have to, of course, when I was a cadet on the ship and still training, we have to write all these reports. And one of the reports is about stability. Now, that is very interesting for a cargo ship because they have different stability when they're loading, when they're in ballast, or when they're fully loaded. Of course, we don't have that much difference when we're full or empty with fuel. And so I made this calculation saying, it's a bit of a fantasy story, like all the guests are down on A deck and now we see a whale on the starboard side and everybody runs up to the starboard side to deck 12. And I made this calculation, it came to like 0.2 degrees list or something.
Nice, you already did that research. Okay.
Because I knew one day this question would come.
Sir, thanks for being here. A couple of years ago, I was on an expedition-sized ship to the Antarctica. Stabilizers were lost, and several days later, we had to be rescued at sea. My question to you is, has there been a significant mechanical failure that has caused you to cancel an itinerary?
Well, yeah, I was on one ship and I just came off the mast for 7 years and I went back on the Azipods ship for the first time in 7 years. Looking forward to it, and after 2 days the starboard Azipod short-circuited and was out. So we brought the ship alongside in Fort Lauderdale. Then we had to cancel the next cruise, take the propeller off because it causes a lot of drag, this propeller that's not doing anything. And then we continued cruising on one propeller, got all the Coast Guard exemptions. We continued cruising until the other Azipod was refurbished, which took 3 months. Then we went into dry dock, exchanged the Azipod. So that's sort of the most serious thing I've had with mechanical failure, let's say it like that. And yeah, driving on ship on one Azipod is still okay. You can still maneuver the ship pretty well, but you just don't make your maximum speed anymore. So we were just late everywhere for hours, got overtaken by all the other ships of the company.
Okay, you're right here in front. Thanks for being with us, Captain. Obviously, weather was very important for this cruise. Where do you get your forecasting information?
Yeah, we have several sources. We have like commercial software that we're paying for that does our weather predictions. But no matter how fancy the screen looks, no matter how many colors you have on your computer screen, weather forecasts come in every 6 hours still, all over the world. Everything else in between is based on interpolation between those forecasts. So, so yeah, I load the entire cruise in the system, and then I can run a simulation, and it shows you the ship is here now, and this weather system is coming down. It's pretty good, but it's still sometimes out. And especially for going into port, it's if you see a weather forecast, it shows there is like 35 knots wind, which is too much for us. But you could just be lucky and the wind could just come from a direction where it's sheltered by a mountain or something and you could still dock the ship. So it's not completely something you can completely count on. So you still need to go there and see if you can do it or not.
Just here in front.
How many emergency generators do you have on the ship and what is their capacity?
Well, we have one emergency generator. It's pretty big. I don't know the exact horsepower, but it's enough to run all the emergency lights. Not the propulsion, like I said. Propulsion needs a lot more power. But all the lights, all the watertight doors, the fire doors, the water, air conditioning, a lot of systems against toilets, and still keep running.
Here in the front.
Have you ever had a hair-raising experience at sea, or has it been pretty smooth sailing over your 30-year career?
No, of course I've had hair raising. I don't have any hair anymore. Yeah, I mean, our contracts are 3 months every time. I would say every contract once or twice something happens which can be pretty hair-raising, like you say. Usually the wind picking up in the wrong place and hoping to be able to hold the ship against this wind. In Antarctica I had the wind pick up to 100 knots within a few minutes. I managed to turn the stern into the wind, so that was good, so the ship didn't list too much. But now I'm slowly waiting or going with the wind from the stern, waiting for the wind to drop, but it just didn't drop, it just kept going and going and going. But we're heading in the wrong direction very slowly, so I know sooner or later I have to turn the ship around, but I still had a lot of time, with like 6 hours before we would hit any land. But then the fog came down and ice started to come ahead of us, icebergs, so I had to turn the ship around knowing we'd get this wind on the side of the ship. So I had to warn everybody to sit down, nobody listened. I warned them again. Then we closed the buffet and everybody sat down finally. It's a true story. Because if you say we're going to have to turn the ship, people just go out to get their cameras and let's get a cup of coffee and see how this. But I know the ship would list, so I turned the ship around. We heeled only about 10 degrees, which feels like a lot, but the ship doesn't. It can handle about 45 degrees until you don't know what way it will right itself again. So that was quite something.
All the way in the back.
As an old firefighter on land, I can't imagine a going fire on a ship out in the middle of the ocean. Have you, in your experience, had to deal with that in your time as a cruise operator or whatever in your experiences?
Yeah, I've had fires on the ship. No big fires, luckily, but of course a lot of equipment on the ship. A lot of people. People put candles in their cabin and put the cabin on fire. Or things do happen. So I've had small fires on the ship. I had a fire in the engine room, which sounded pretty scary when it started, but it wasn't. If we have a fire somewhere, a fire detector goes off, and automatically the high fog system starts attacking this fire pretty quickly, which works very effective. And the camera immediately shows us on the bridge this area of the fire. So with fire, main engine room. So this is scary if you hear this. And so I was sleeping, and I come on the bridge and look at the camera, and I see the chief engineer with his hands in his pocket, walking over this engine, looking like, it's not so bad. But the big decision on a fire is, do we stay or do we go? This is a big decision to make for me.
Down here in front.
Thank you. I saw a presentation of a Pinnacle type ship. That when it comes into dock, that with the new equipment you have and so forth, it almost docks itself. It's kind of envisioned it like maybe you see your cars that park themselves. Is that correct? You don't, the electronic gear kind of docks the ship for it?
Does the ship dock? Is there an autopilot for docking the ship?
No, not yet. No, we dock the ship manually. The system is very The system can actually get us into the port automatically. We don't usually do that because we usually still steer the ship ahead into the port. But the actual docking of the ship, we still need to do manual there. I mean, they're experimenting with it because, of course, there's also unmanned ships now that they're experimenting with. But as of now, we still have to do it ourselves.
In the middle.
This is a related question because I'm wondering if you need to use a pilot in every port.
Yeah, so the pilot, I've been a pilot myself. I quit this job for a year, became a pilot, and didn't like it and came back here. So pilot is compulsory by law. He doesn't actually drive the ship. He advises us on the local circumstances. Can you imagine all the ships in the world? There's a lot of nationalities, so the level of English is different. And this pilot speaks the local language. So, for instance, if you go to China, you have a Chinese pilot, of course, who speaks Chinese to the people on the dock on other ships. So you have somebody with the same language on every ship, so the communication is much better. And they also talk to the tugboats if you use tugboats. But here in the United States, in Mexico, it's compulsory to have a pilot. Except in Kona, where we were anchoring, we don't need him.
Just here in the front.
So you mentioned that your wife had an excursion the first day. Does she always cruise with you? Does she cruise for free?
Yeah, we can have our family on board. So even if I had 6 children, then they can all 6 sail with me anytime. I don't have 6 children, but so yeah, she sails with me as much as we can. It doesn't always work out, of course, but yeah, we can. If you have space in your cabin, you can bring your family. So your parents, your brothers, your sisters, your kids, your
all the way up here.
wives, girlfriends, boyfriends.
Yeah, there's been a drought in Panama, and going through the canal is limited. Cargo ships are waiting sometimes for several days. Do cruise ships get a priority to go through the canal this time?
Yeah, because we pay more. We pay more to get first spot in the canal. Problem is when you miss this slot for some reason, and then you also have to wait. So we need to be on time.
You're in the middle.
You know, the first day when we get on the ship, we have to go to our muster station and know where the lifeboats are. In your career, have you ever had to make us use lifeboats?
No, luckily not. No, it's something we train for, of course, but we hope it never happens. But yeah, of course it can happen.
We have time for 2 more questions. Just here.
This is the Koning down, and I was wondering, did the King of Holland ever cruise on this ship with Maxima?
No, I wouldn't. But I was here when the ship was christened. The Queen actually christened this ship on this stage here. I was sitting right there. I was a kid with my daughter. And my daughter's signature is on this little thing here on deck 2. There's deck 2, right? Is it deck 3? Yeah. So, but the king, no, he wouldn't. This would be beneath him. So, no.
The Koningsdown, will they go through the Panama Canal with the lifeboats hanging out?
Well, no and yes. So, the new locks are wider than the old locks. So we do fit with the width, but the ship has to come alongside the dock, and then our lifeboats will be touching the dock. You're absolutely right. We will go to the Panama Canal probably on this ship, I think, but it's very difficult. We have to keep the ship in the center, so it's not something we'd like to do as a regular cruise.
Okay, 1 extra question, and then we'll be wrapping it up.
You indicated that obviously there's a possibility of hitting a whale. Is there any other debris in the water that you have hit or can? Because there is a lot of garbage in the ocean, like even a container falling off a ship.
Yeah, there's always a risk of hitting, for instance, a container when it's half submerged and it doesn't show up on your radar. Hasn't happened to me yet. The front of the ship is very, very strong. So if you hit something, even if you damage the very front of the ship, it will still, there's something called a collision bulkhead, which is past the pointy end of the ship, which is very, very strong. So even if you damage the bow, ship could still keep going. But so far I haven't really hit anything yet.
Thank you for all of your questions. We really appreciate it. Let's thank the captain for his time.